Altadena Community Meeting. The supervisor could not be here today, so she asked me to attend in her place and to provide some critical updates for the community. By introduction, my name is Anish Saraya, Director of Altadena Recovery for Supervisor Kathryn Barger. So with that, I wanted to go over two really very topical and critical issues that I think a lot of people are running into in the rebuilding process. First and foremost is generally the land use side of rebuilding your home. As many of you know, Altadena has a community standards district, and more importantly, we have the West San Gabriel Valley Area Plan, which is our land use plan that governs zoning regulations related to housing, among other things. There have been a lot of instances where we have had concerns raised by property owners who are going through the rebuilding process about very specific provisions of county code that are making it infeasible for them to rebuild their homes. In some instances, this relates to homes where there's a preference to move the garage ahead of the main structure, the orientation of your front door. In some instances, this is about setback districts that many of us are just now discovering were created nearly 100 years ago. And so while these are provisions of county code that are approved by the Board of Supervisors. So the supervisor, understanding the challenges we are facing, has asked the Department of Regional Planning to create essentially the Eaton Fire Disaster Interim Ordinance. This ordinance is going to be before the Board of Supervisors on September 2nd, 2025, and will be brought in by the supervisor via motion. What it does is it introduces temporary regulations to address immediate needs. It is immediately effective and then effective for 45 days and can be extended for up to 2 additional years. And ultimately, these temporary regulations can be permanently incorporated into the zoning code if necessary. So while we do want to help make sure that everyone can move through the rebuilding process, we obviously don't want to make permanent changes to the code until we have had time to do appropriate outreach and better understand the implications of doing so. The proposed ordinance has one very simple goal: is to support fire survivors by streamlining the disaster rebuild process, while also maintaining the process for stakeholder input. So as I mentioned, it will be before the board on September 2nd with a follow-up public hearing on October 14th. And really, the ordinance is going to address development standards, streamline modification processes, temporary uses, disaster permits, and the like. And so in very broad strokes, and the Department of Regional Planning will be on later in our meeting today to dive more into the details. The really critical issue here is going to be an expansion of the way we treat like for like, and the way we allow folks to address potential conflicts with existing code. So while the ordinance will address development standards, there will also be a ministerial process to help with exemptions for specific issues that aren't easily addressed through this modification process. So again, this ordinance will be before the board on September 2nd and immediately effective. And we believe a lot of the changes that will be allowed through this interim ordinance are going to help families rebuild their home. The second issue I would like to highlight is related to water companies. The Los Angeles County Fire Department has been working with LA County Public Works Building and Safety Division to address an issue that many property owners who are going to rebuild are running into. As part of the process of issuing a building permit, county departments need to know whether the water companies that serve that property are able to serve that property with water. In many instances, this requires the applicants to go to their water company, have the water company do an investigation, and then ultimately fill out a form. That form is then provided to the county, and then the county is able to confirm that there's an availability of water so we can issue building permits. So LA County Fire has been working with the 5 water companies that serve Altadena and Kinaloa Mesa, and working collaboratively with them over the last couple of months to streamline the fire flow availability process for Eaton fire rebuilds. The fire flow form many of you have heard of is Fire Department Form 195. So the fire department has been working to collect GIS layers and fire flow information from the water districts and place this information into a centralized database that both LA County Fire and LA County Building and Safety have access to. This will ultimately eliminate individual applicants and property owners from having to go to the individual water companies to get the form filled out and then come back to the county with that information. And so because the water departments will no longer be manually investigating and filling out these forms, the applicants will no longer have to pay that fee to the water district. So as many of you know, Supervisor Barger brought in a motion exempting Eaton fire rebuilds from county specific fees. The fees we are discussing here have always been implemented by the individual water company that serves your property. But in this instance, because we are removing this from the burden of the applicant, that fee will also be waived. So that is a fee that will no longer be charged by the water companies, as you will not have to reach out to them to get these forms filled out. This will be a very collaborative process. I do want to thank each of the water companies that have agreed to join in with the county on this. Those three are Las Flores, Lincoln Avenue, and Rubio Canyon. And so these districts have agreed to work with the county to provide this information in a way that reduces this burden and hurdle from individual property owners. The county is still in conversations with potentially Kinaloa Irrigation District, as well as Pasadena Water and Power, to see if there's a way we can collaborate and work through processes like this for those companies as well. So although the fees for filling out these forms are smaller in nature than traditional building permit fees, these are fees that add on top of the burden of rebuilding that so many people are facing. We're hopeful that this streamlining will also help reduce the burden of process that is placed on the applicants. This really does dovetail and fall in with the supervisor's goal, which is to make this process as easy as possible, given the challenges that we have had with our permitting systems. The first phase of this project is going to include all single family duplexes that were lost in the fire. A second phase will be rolled out for residents over 3,600 square feet. This new process will go live today, Monday, August 25th. So moving forward, applicants that come in with plans will no longer be required to go to their water company to fill out the Form 195, and will have this process done by the county in the background. And with that, I will turn it back over to our meeting organizer to share who the next presenter will be. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Alexander Cummings with the Army Corps of Engineers. Thank you, Supervisor, for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. As addressed last week, our private parcel debris removal program, and as such, our attention has turned towards the completion of the last few projects within our mission. The restoration formed and a plan to repair the irrigation system is being finalized with the Department of Public Works. We expect earthwork and irrigation repair to be completed by mid-October. We remain on schedule to complete a handover back to the Department of Parks and Recreation by the end of 2025. Work on the Elliott Arts Magnet School is nearly complete. Work was done early in the project to preserve and stabilize the historic tower. We expect debris removal work to be complete sometime this week, with a final sign-off and handover to the county soon after. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This concludes my presentation.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to provide a permit progress update. My name is Kira Barnett, and I'm an Assistant Deputy Director at Los Angeles County Public Works, leading our newly formed Recovery Division. And if we could go to the next slide, please. As of this morning, 1,418 applications have been received by Los Angeles County for fire rebuilds in the Eaton fire area. This number includes all permit types, which includes new single-family homes, accessory dwelling units, garages, accessory structures, multifamily applications, and non-residential properties. Planning has cleared 1,137 zoning reviews. 729 properties have submitted full building plans and advanced into the building review stage. Separate permits are created for each structure, and we have a total of 1,091 structures in various stages of building review. Just last week, full plans were submitted to advance 103 projects into the plan review phase. Including all permit types, 165 parcels have active permits for a total of 222 structures with permits issued. 99 additional plans have been approved and are pending clearances or for the applicant to pull the permits to begin construction. We've been averaging 67 days from initial submittal to permit issuance for new residential projects, which includes the time it takes the designers to create and submit full building plans, as well as to respond to comments provided, and for the homeowner to identify a builder and pull the permits. And if we could go to the next slide, please. I wanted to provide an update on the progress of construction in Altadena. These are my favorite updates to share, and I wanted to show some photos, as well as to highlight the work being done to rebuild properties in the community. For new residential construction, which is new homes, accessory dwelling units, or multifamily units, there's 166 new residential building permits that have been issued so far, and 62 of them are in active construction and have called for an early inspection. From all permit types, there's 222 rebuilding permits issued so far, and 78 have called for early inspections, so we know they're in active construction. And for the next slide, please. Just showing here that there further progress in reconstruction. So you can see here at the front of your screen, another property that's in construction. Great, if we could go to the next slide, please. I want to take a moment to remind everyone about our Road to Rebuilding informational resources that we have available on our recovery.lacounty.gov website. We've shown you the Road to Rebuilding explainer videos before, but now we have print versions of each of the videos to help you be able to share information in the community about the rebuilding options that are available. We also have informational cards on the recovery.lacounty.gov website and at the Altadena One Stop, including our permit process flowcharts and other educational content. We'll continue to post updated content on our website and share it in person at the One Stop Center and at our community events. And for our last slide, please. I'm happy to share that our next Rebuilding Together workshop has been scheduled. For this next virtual session, we will cover the importance of working with a licensed contractor for your rebuild project. You can hear from folks at the Contractor State Licensing Board, the County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs, and Neighborhood Housing Services, and ask experts questions in real time. You can scan the QR code here on your screen to register for the event, or you can find this flyer on a recovery.lacounty.gov rebuilding page under workshops. So please be sure to keep an eye on that website location for future events, or I'll continue to provide updates on these weekly meetings. So again, that's recovery.lacounty.gov/rebuilding/workshops. This concludes my updates for today, and thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Ed Rojas. I'm an Assistant Deputy Director with LA County Department of Regional Planning. Our department is currently working on an interim ordinance for the unincorporated communities impacted by the Eaton fire. An interim ordinance introduces temporary regulations to address immediate need. It is enacted by the Board of Supervisors and effective immediately for 45 days and can be extended up to 2 additional years. The temporary regulations can be made permanent during that time. If that is required, it follows our regular procedures, which includes community outreach and a public hearing before the Regional Planning Commission, before consideration by the Board of Supervisors. The goal of the proposed Eaton Fire Disaster Interim Ordinance is to support fire survivors by streamlining the rebuilding process while also maintaining a process for stakeholder input. The schedule for the September 2nd board meeting and the first extension is scheduled for October 14th. The interim ordinance will introduce development standards, a streamlined modification process, allow for temporary uses, and outlines the disaster permit and process which are currently in place, and fees, although fees for most applicants have been deferred. Now we'll cover the development standards, although some of these are already in place through department memos. Expansion for like is limited to 10% or 200 square feet, whichever is greater. The minimum front yard setback for a non-like-for-like rebuild is 20 feet. Front yard setbacks for like-for-like rebuilds can be modified. If the pre-fire setback was less than 20 feet, it can be increased. If the pre-fire setback was greater than 20 feet, it can be decreased, but not less than 20 feet. It also codifies the occupancy of standalone ADUs, which are ADUs that were built prior to the primary unit. Currently, a non-for-like rebuild is required to have a walkway that connects the front of the property to the sidewalk. Now, if a property does not have a sidewalk and does not directly adjoin the street, you can connect that walkway to the driveway. Height limits for like-for-like rebuilds is not limited to 10% anymore. Like-for-like rebuild can increase the height as long as it does not exceed the height permitted by the zone or increase the number of stories. Relocation for like rebuilds is allowed as long as 50% of the original footprint is maintained. Currently, only like-for-like rebuilds are exempt from oak tree permits. Under the new regulations, non-like-for-like rebuilds will also be exempt as long as the encroachment is equal to or less than the previous structure. Another change is no covered parking is required for like-for-like rebuilds and for non-like-for-like rebuilds. The example here, we have a home with a one-car garage. If they decide to do like-for-like, they're required to have one parking space, and that can be provided uncovered. In the other example, they do non-like-for-like, which requires two parking spaces. Again, they can be uncovered. At any time, they can voluntarily provide a covered garage or carport instead. Also, no replacing parking is required when a new ADU overlaps fully or partially over the footprint of a damaged or destroyed garage. As an example, you can see two examples of where required parking would not be required. The interim ordinance also introduces a streamlined modification process. There is no public hearing. Instead, it is reviewed by the director or the zoning administrator. There is public noticing, and decisions are subject to appeal or calls for review. The noticing, there will be a notice of application when the request is received, and a notice of action when the decision is made. Notices are mailed to the surrounding property owners and via email or courtesy list, and to community-based organizations on file for Altadena or Canelo Mesa, as well as posted on the county website. If you have any questions about this information or anything else regarding recovery, please email us or contact us by phone, or you can also visit us at the Altadena One-Stop Permit Center. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dean Logan, Registrar Recorder County Clerk for LA County. To everyone impacted by the wildfires, please know that our office is here to support you with uninterrupted access to voter registration and official, vital, and property records. We understand you may have questions about your voter registration and what your options are to make sure you receive future election materials while temporarily living away from home. The first step you should take is to check your voter registration status. This can be done easily at lavote.gov. If you've been temporarily displaced due to wildfires or any other circumstance, you do not need to change your voter registration. You can keep your home address so your voting districts remain the same. All you need to do is add a temporary mailing address, and we'll make sure your ballot and election materials reach you. There are two simple ways to update your voter registration with a temporary mailing address. First, you can update your registration at registertovote.ca.gov. Enter your home address and then add a temporary mailing address. Or if you prefer to speak with a representative, please call us at 1-800-815-2666 and select option 2. We can update your mailing address for you. If you filed a change of address with the U.S. Postal Service, our office may receive that update automatically. When that happens, we'll send you a notice asking you to confirm your home and mailing addresses. We don't make any changes until we hear back from you, which ensures your voter registration remains accurate and secure. If you permanently relocated, you should re-register with your new residence address. Just keep in mind that this may change your voting districts. Remember, if you're unsure about your voter registration information, you can always check your status at our website at lavote.gov. In addition to voter registration, our office can also help replace essential records you may need as you recover, things like birth, death, marriage, or property documents at no cost. If fires have directly impacted you and you need a replacement birth, death, or marriage record, call us at 1-800-201-8999 and select option 1. For property records, select option 3. If you have questions or need assistance with voter registration, call 1-800-815-2666 and select option 2. If you prefer email, you can reach us at rrcc-fireassistance@rrcc.lacounty.gov for assistance obtaining vital and property records, or voterinfo@rrcc.lacounty.gov for assistance with your voter registration. Please know that we are committed to supporting you during this difficult time, and our priority is to help you access the records you need to recover and rebuild.